is Wednesday, September 11th, and we have a great show here for you. The news headlines, the weather report, and today in history. This morning, Karen McHugh, local healthy food enthusiast, is in the studio to talk about healthy eating. Also, Mary Rose, who is Onset's oldest resident. She's not in the studio, but she'll be sharing some of her stories. A long life, 105. So she has plenty of stories to share with you, and we'll be bringing some of those stories here for you during this morning's program. But first, I would like to take this moment to thank Not Your Average Antiques, an antique shop down Cranberry Highway in East Wareham, for donating the props that you see in the morning show. So stay tuned because the weather and the news headlines are next. All right, so today is going to be a mix of clouds and sunshine, high at 78. I thought summer was gone, but apparently not. Partly cloudy skies tonight, which will give way to occasional showers later during the night, low at 63. Tomorrow, rain showers early with overcast skies later in the day. We're looking at 68 for the high and low at 53. And now to the news. There were plenty of news stories over the week coming up at the news headlines. Wareham Week at the following. Town officials are hoping to give Wareham's image a facelift with the help of a new logo and tagline, and they want the public to help them decide. Town planner Kenneth Backland said that because there are many new ideas and projects in the town, officials are looking to create a new brand for the town to accompany those changes. The logos and taglines were developed by Schneider Associates, a Boston-based marketing and public relations firm, and have undergone some revisions following feedback from town officials. Some of the proposed taglines are "Off Cape and on the Rise," "It's better before the bridges," and "No Cape necessary." I love that one. The town seal will remain unchanged. So if you would like to participate, to give the town some feedback, Wareham Week has the full proposed list of these taglines. You can go and vote on your favorite. I hope you vote on "No Cape necessary." Anyhow, the second news of the day. It's been 46 years since Holly Fitzgerald and her husband survived near starvation while stranded on the raft deep in the Amazon jungle. On Sunday, with the sparkling Antique River as a backdrop, the Dartmouth woman told participants in the South Coast Almanac's Working Book Club about the debonair South American businesswoman who had suggested the raft trip alongside the author Corey Nuffer of the South Coast Almanac, who displayed a photo of Holly and husband Jared Fitzgerald, looking happy and healthy shortly before entering the Amazon. The book contains photos of the gaunt couple shortly after their rescue. And to another news of the day, landscape buffers, a tweak on the definition of motor vehicle service, and a one-year moratorium on social consumption marijuana businesses will be up for votes at the fall town meeting through warrant articles proposed by the planning board. Another article would add towing for service to the definition of motor vehicle service. The board is also proposing a few tweaks to a chart that determines how wide a landscaped buffer needs to be between a current use and a new use. The planning board members also considered several other changes that they automatically decided not to bring to voters this year, including allowing medical marijuana businesses to be located anywhere that recreational marijuana businesses can be located, and some changes to the rules governing the zoning of Wareham Village and Onset Village districts. Town meeting will be held at 7 p.m. on October 28th in the Wareham High School auditorium. And that's all for today's news. We're going to take a brief break, and when we come back, we're going to continue with more. How old do you think I am? It's a serious question. Well, I am not as old as you think. Maybe close. But anyhow, I found somebody who is much older. Mary Rose, she is our town's oldest resident. Articles are saying Onset's oldest resident, but because Onset and Wareham are one town, she is all of us oldest resident. So I had an opportunity to sit down with her and to chat a little bit about her life. It was a 3-hour interview. All rightly so, because she had a lot to say, but I have boiled it down to 11 minutes of some of her greatest encounters. Take a look. At 349 Onset Avenue is the home of Onset's oldest resident, Mary Rose, who just turned 105 years old.
I remember my father's store.
It was this area, right?
Yes.
This was the store.
Yeah, and had a room in back. And he had a wonderful store, I tell you. He had bananas hanging from the rafters. And you had boxes of grapes.
Born in 1914, Mary Rose is the oldest of 7 children. She attended Oak Grove School right outside her house. So this particular school right here,
Yes.
who was allowed to go there?
Just the Cape Verdeans. They were segregated from the Hammond School. Hammond School was there, and
right
Mom
in the
was
center
going there, and they actually took them out of there and put them all over here, separated them.
Though she was born in the United States, her first language was Creole, the language of her parents, who were Cape Verdean immigrants. One of her childhood fond memories was the day she got a baby sister.
That day, we were all in that room there.
Now it's a kitchen, right?
Yes.
And we don't know what's going on upstairs. My father sent me to get the ladies.
The midwives.
Yeah, get the ladies.
They all went upstairs. Then my father comes down, he says, "You have a sister."
And at the same time, the train is back here, the tracks.
Yes.
And the train went by.
The train used to run back, way back. And, well, so I told my sister and brothers, "Did you hear that train?" "Yep." Well, Alvina came in that train. My father told me that that's where we all came. Then I go to school and I told them.
You told them Avina came from the train.
Hmm. The boys are smart. They know everything, I guess. They told me, Alvina didn't come on any train. And they left it at that.
I left it at that. She also recalls tough moments in history, such as segregation, war, and the Great Depression.
1929, there was
The Depression, the crash
my father
in the government.
closed the store. That depression was bad. You see people walking in the road looking for money. Nobody had work. There was a factory in East Wareham closed down. And they contracted used to work on it.
What did they have in that factory? Was that
Cotton.
cotton? There was a
Cotton
cotton factory
component.
in Wareham. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, down south.
Her family, like many other Cape Verdean families at that era, worked in the cranberry bogs.
Everybody picked the cranberries, especially the men. They bring the kids too. They brought us too to pick the berries, and we did a good job. I made $30. You know, that was good. And that's how I got that coat with the fur.
She met her husband while picking cranberries. She also recalls the day his aunt came to her house to ask her parents for a hand in marriage.
I don't know what my father was going to say. I went to bed. I knew they were coming. I went to bed. I stayed there.
Yeah.
What was it like growing up with your mother?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, she was always a very quiet person, very religious, but she loves to teach. So she was very kind, and she taught me a lot, you know, and patience, and she cooked. She's a very hard worker. In the summers, my dad had made in the backyard, he made out of barrels and things like that, fire pits and stuff. So Mom would can. She would do all the canning. We lived down the Cape at the time, and the weathers are bad. So to prepare for winter, she would can all the vegetables, corn and beans and piccalilli and pickles, and then we had our home was like a zoo. We had chimpanzees, we had geese, we had calves, cows, and then that would get slaughtered for the winter. We had a huge freezer down in the cellar, and so they would package it all up, all the meats, and then like they would purchase rice by the 100-pound, Uncle Ben's rice by the 100-pound bags, and then they put tobacco inside so the bugs don't get the rice. It'll last all winter. Lima beans, you buy it in the big bags, and you put the tobacco, crush up the cigarettes and put them in there, you know.
Scrambled in a pool of long memories is a pivotal incident in her life, the day she eluded a terrible fate.
She was telling me when she was going to night school, and she was wondering, I'll just cut to the chase there for you. She was wondering why some of the ladies in the class, they would, all of a sudden she started seeing some of the women not coming back to school. So she was saying that one day she went to the school, and so she took a ride with this guy. So go ahead, you pick it up from there.
Yeah, well, that guy was Creole, you know, and he was teaching school too. He said, "Where do these ladies live?" They said, "No, up nothing." He said, "Well, I live up that way. I can give you a rise." And then the next day, it took 2 days. Those two women, I didn't see those women.
Never came back to class.
They never come back. I don't know where they went. Back there.
So the next night, she took the ride again for him to take her home. So you got in the car, and he's driving off from school. So where do you go?
All of a sudden I see there's snow on the ground and there's woods.
And she doesn't recognize where she is.
I said, you got to take me home. I said, you don't go home this way. He says, I shortcut, and that you know. Then he stopped the car. He said, I want you to promise me that you go out with me. I said, I'm not going out with nobody. I went to go church to do.
Open the door.
He locked the door.
She started saying the Hail Mary.
Yeah. That time I was going to church all the time, you know. But I didn't realize that I was praying. You meet that? All of a sudden I happen to look up, I see a car coming with lights on top.
Blue flashing lights.
The cop come right by him, got off. He said, what are you doing here? What is this? You stopping in the snow? Are you all right, lady? I said, I'm all right. I said, I'm not going to make any. He told him, I want you to get the car going. I'm going to follow you, and so let her go home. You take her home. He said that. He started the car. He didn't go too far. He says, you and your Hail Mary.
She never went back either.
I wanted
She
to
quit the
finish
school.
out my high school, you know, but I should have reported it. That's what I should have done.
When somebody asks you about your secret of making it to 104, almost 105, what do you say?
Well, I didn't do it on purpose.
I think that's amazing that God has allowed her to be able to enjoy the technology of today. And so it's fascinating. It's like when people are ill, you know, and you're going to pull the plug, and then next week they have a cure. You know? So it was like, wow, she can take advantage of this. So it's really, really something.
In a nutshell, Mary Rose attributes personal communication and family as a recipe for a long, happy life. Not included on that interview is the fact that Mary Rose received the Boston cane, a cane that goes to the oldest resident in a particular town. We wish Mary a long, happy, healthy life. And now moving on to another video. Speaking of a long, happy, healthy life, somebody needs to be accountable. So Safety Assurance, a program ran by the Plymouth County Police Department. They run this particular program to make sure that all residents in the Plymouth County are accounted for. Take a look. Security, independence, and peace of mind. These three things are guaranteed by a special life-saving program administered right here at the Plymouth Sheriff Department. Keeping the public safe couldn't have gotten any easier, thanks to the Safety Assurance Program.
So this is our CARE program right here. We operate under the name of Safety Assurance. And this is just our program that we use to actually make the phone calls. Right here in this box.
This telephone software program checks on Plymouth residents by registering one phone call a day, answering this key question.
Good morning. This is the Plymouth County Sheriff's Safety Assurance Program.
Yes?
If you are okay, press 1. If you are not okay, press 3. If you need to talk to the officer on duty, press 5. You can hang up now. Thank you.
Bye.
At the other side of this call is a full-time officer whose main responsibility is to facilitate the conversation between the mobile software program and the client.
It's a well-being call system for people who live alone, who have health issues, mostly the elderly. We do have some younger people on there as well.
When you make these calls, what are you looking to hear, and how long do these calls last?
What I'm looking to hear is that the client picks up the phone, that they say hello, and that they hit the appropriate button. And typically the call, depending on if they're having phone issues, you know, it could go from 1 to 2 minutes. Sometimes I have them rummaging through for their phone to turn it on, hit the button. Sometimes it can go a little bit longer. Sometimes the phone disconnects. The system automatically knows when they hang up, the system hangs up and will print out one of these papers right here if there's any issues.
And in case of an emergency or a need for medical attention, the officer on duty is your first responder, working fast to get you the assistance that you need.
So if something is not okay, I'm alerted that, you know, they hit a button where they do need assistance. I will typically call them, say, is everything okay? It looks like you hit this button on this, and they go, well, you know, Kevin, things aren't, you know, okay today. I'm having some chest pains. I think I need a little help. Typically, I say, would you like me to call you an ambulance? And they go, yes, can you please do that? So I'll call them the ambulance. Call the ambulance, I'll notify them where they live, what's going on, and I'll call the client back and just say the ambulance is on the way. Would you like me to stay on the phone with you while the ambulance is en route?
And just in case you're curious to how you could be so lucky to receive one of these safety calls, all you need to do is register through your Council on Aging or contact the Plymouth Sheriff's Department.
Yeah.
Now, are you looking for a specific age or a specific condition somebody has to have? What are the qualifications in order to be in this?
It does not matter. I mean, it's usually for, you know, our clients live alone. Some have health conditions, some don't. Some get around the house just fine. They just want that extra peace of mind that, you know, someone's going to check on them.
And to the other Plymouth County residents, especially those living alone, that one call a day can be the difference between life and a severe life-threatening emergency.
Well, just this year alone, we have saved three of our clients. just this year.
What are some stories you can tell me, you know, not to give out anybody's identity, but during your job, making calls, what are some stories that you can share with me?
Last year, it's around the time that I started, I had a woman who was having trouble answering the phone at her given time, and, you know, I used to always say, oh no, I think, you know, something has happened. And so one time she did pick up the phone. She answered on the phone, she pressed a button, but then it was one that I needed to like check on her to see if she's okay, and I thought, oh, she probably just hit the button on mistake. I know she doesn't have the greatest vision. Then I kept calling her and she wasn't answering. So I go, okay, that's not good. She's not answering now, and, you know, typically I will call a person back just, you know, because they just answered the phone, so why aren't they answering now? So I got the police to go over there. They said that she had happened to fall and hit her head on where the phone was located right after the phone call. And that's where they found her and were able to take her to the hospital.
So you respond right away. If somebody's not picking up their call and you know this is unlike them, you take the next step further. You call the police, they go and check on her.
Yes, that's what we have to do. We have to make sure that everyone is accounted for no matter what. That's why we're here.
What are some of the information you need to have? Let's say I'm interested, I want to be in this program. What do you need from me?
All I need to know typically is I need your phone number, where we're going to contact you. I need your address in case I do need to ever send, you know, an ambulance out. I need to have personal contacts, if any. If not, I usually just write down in my notes, call PD, local police department, does not have any contacts.
Comparing the safety assurance program to other medical alert plans out there, such as the Life Alert, Senior Safety, and more, there are a handful of qualities that set this particular program apart from the rest. And one main reason being that the safety assurance program does not cost a dime, and it does not need additional products such as a purchase of a safety pendant in order for the program to work. All you need is a phone.
So many elderly individuals or people that might have medical issues in your community, we have this right here that would be a reassurance not only for them, but the loved ones that are out there for these people, that we're reaching out and we're touching base with them and saying that we know you're all right.
It all sounds very promising, right? But despite the program's incentives, such as safety and accountability, the program is not popular. There remains a large population with compelling reasons to why they abstain from the program.
With that being said, some of the reasons, maybe they'd be a little reluctant to the fact that they don't want to give up their independence, and I totally understand that.
There is also the stigma of the alarming blue lights outside your house when the police are called in case of an emergency. Or what will happen to you if you fail to answer the call on time. These fears and more are what the department is working so hard to mitigate. So in case you're still on the fence regarding the safety assurance program, if it is for you or not, try thinking of it this way.
So it's not only a peace of mind for the person that's receiving the call, it's also for their loved ones that are out there that are getting the reassurance that they're on the program. So
currently, there are about 150 Plymouth County residents in the safety assurance program, a number that the Sheriff's Department is saying is too low, and they're hoping that more residents will take advantage of this life-saving program. Reporting from the Plymouth Sheriff's Department, I am Queen Banda of WCTV. And for now, we're going to take a lovely break and we'll be back with Today in History. Hello, and thank you for being with us this morning. We are broadcasting live from our WCTV studio. This is Good Morning Wareham, your source for local news, weather, traffic, and more information. And now for moments in history, let's take a look at where we were today in history. All right, today in history, in American history, America defeated a British squadron on Lake Champlain in 1814. This battle occurred towards the end of the War of 1812 and helped push back the British so they could not invade New York. This win for the Americans would help end the war with peace negotiation with the British. Also, today in 1851, a riot in Christiana, Pennsylvania occurred. White abolitionists and African Americans had a small fight with a group from Maryland who were trying to recapture 4 slaves who were hidden in the town. One of the group members was killed and 2 other people were hurt. Also, today, a somber history in our nation. In 2001, the United States was attacked by a group of terrorists who hijacked several planes and used them to wreak havoc. Thousands died as 2 planes flew into New York City's Twin Towers. A plane hit the Pentagon in Washington, and the 4th plane that was hijacked was brought down in the fields in West Pennsylvania after some passengers bravely fought back against the terrorists. With the nation in fear, President George W. Bush delivered an address that night saying, "Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America. These acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve." And for today's birthday, shout out goes to our co-worker and producer of the morning show, Andrew Tricker, currently away at college where he is studying video game design. We all look forward to seeing him again soon, and we wish him a happy birthday. And that's all for today in the History segment. To learn more cool historical facts, you can visit online under history.com. Stay with us. The coffee segment is next. But first, Kathleen Rowe, outreach worker at Wareham Council on Aging, talks about public outreach work. Well, speaking of a lot of vulnerable people, our senior population here are vulnerable.
Yes.
So tell me, within the month that you've been here, what were you able to grasp, to learn about our senior citizens?
They're very sweet, first of all, so I very much enjoy working with seniors. But there's a lot of disability. People are trying to be independent as best as they can, but facing a lot of problems in their lives. It could be medical, it could be that they have no family, they could be homeless. Things that you and I take for granted, they're struggling with. And in struggling, it's kind of like a full-time job trying to get the services that they need, try to understand, you know, where to go. Transportation is a huge problem, just getting to a different agency, you know, to get the services that they need.
Okay. So you are here you're the outreach coordinator.
Outreach worker.
Worker,
Oh.
okay. I'm just going to insert the coordinator part.
Yeah.
There isn't another one, is there?
No.
You're the only one.
Here, yeah.
Yes, okay. So tell me what that job entails.
It's basically case management. So somebody will come to me with a certain problem. It could be homelessness. It could be they want to apply for food stamps. It could be domestic violence. And I'll take that information. That's their primary concern. But I also take other information to find out what other needs they may have, because quite often there are other needs that need to be met. And we try to meet those as well and try to be creative in meeting those needs.
Now, your department just recently got approved for funding for a full-time director, 30 hours director. So funding is there, but not quite there, right? Not adequate. Tell me the funding restrictions and how they impact your position, your work here.
Well, my job, as I understand it, is grant funded. So I get 10 hours a week. So if you can imagine somebody comes in to see me, I'm spending probably an hour with them. So it's very limited amount of time. People come in all the time when I'm not even here. And that's a problem, because for a lot of them, transportation is a problem. So just getting here, can be difficult for them or cost them money. So I could use some more hours.
You could use some more hours.
That costs money.
So knowing that, what are some ways that you're thinking, your brain working on how to maximize what we have?
Volunteers. Volunteers could be very useful in helping out here in many different ways.
Now, you say that you are the equivalent of a caseworker for the seniors. What are some of the issues that you could tell us regarding our seniors, our just population here, that you have heard within the month that you've been here?
Well, I don't think that our seniors are any different from any others, really. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people who have very limited income, who don't know what services are available to them, and that's something that's very important for me to let them know, even if they're not asking me about it. I want to take the information about their lives, their income, who they're living with, do they rent, do they own, do they have a disability, and try to put together a plan for them to make life as easy and comfortable as possible. These are supposed to be the golden years, right? So I'd like to help make them the golden years for them.
It's sad that you said these are supposed to be the golden years, and if they are not, then not a lot of hope is left there.
There's always hope.
Okay.
There's always hope. That's what I believe.
So for when you're looking for volunteers, what would be the hook to, what would be the speech to lure them in here? Why should they help their seniors?
We're all going to be seniors, hopefully, one day. So it's great to just keep in mind that, what you might want to be treated like, you have the opportunity to give to somebody else.
All right, welcome back. This now is the coffee segment. With me is Karen McHugh. Yes.
It's okay.
Karen
Everybody messes it up.
I had another pronunciation this
That's
morning.
okay.
Bob was like, is that another guess? I said, no, still Karen.
Well, when I taught at Old Rochester, I had kids who called me Mrs. McHug, which was cute.
McHugh. Okay,
Yeah,
I think
but
I had something
it's
similar
McHugh.
today. So she's here, she's back, and we will see some foods on our table here, and we're going to be talking about these foods. No, we're not going to be making a sandwich today or marshmallows, anything of that nature. But we're going to be talking about food labels, so you could, you could help you to understand what you're buying and why you're buying. We all know sometimes we shop because we feel a certain way. I have done it. You have done it before. You do not care. Looking for something that can make you feel good quickly.
Yep.
But for those other days that you actually are all there in your head, this will be a best way. And yes, Karen isn't a professional nutritionist,
Correct.
but she has done her homework. She knows what she's talking about. And these are some of the things that work for her. So all you could do is just pay attention, and maybe we can inspire you a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. So let's start. What should we start with?
How about labeling?
Labeling, okay.
And by the way, this white bread does not work for me, but we'll get into that, okay? All right, labeling. Well, when you look at a label, there are a few things that people tend to not necessarily know about. Number one, when you pick, you've got this nice box of fun crackers for appetizers. You want to look not just at the nutritional facts, but the actual genuine serving size.
Okay.
When you pick up a container, even if it's small, it doesn't necessarily mean that's one serving. There could be several, which is deceptive. Because when you look to where the calories might be located on this, but I think I should put my glasses on so I can see. That would be really good. Yeah, in this case, calories are listed right here, but that's per serving, not for the whole box. So don't fool yourself. This is a big problem people have with maintaining a healthy diet and not eating too many calories, is they'll pick up a container and decide for themselves how many calories are in it. So that's one thing to look for, a serving size and what the real calories are per that size. Okay. In this case, they're saying serving size is 4 crackers. That's not much. Okay. But it's 60 calories. That's not much either. Okay. Depends on what you put on it is the next step. Another thing which I want to mention to people right away is pay attention to outside labeling. I don't see it here. I don't know that I have anything that says this, but the words natural, all natural. There are a lot of words that are used for advertising on food packages that have no legitimate value. They're not defined necessarily. They have no legal value. The advertisers just put these words on because they feel like it, and people are fooled.
The non-GMO.
Non-GMO is probably true, which means, what is GMO these days? That's the latest thing where they make foods with, I think it's a spray or something, some sort of a pesticide, I'm not quite sure. So that's probably okay. But the use of all natural means nothing. So you want to look at what the actual ingredients are. You want to see how much fat or sugar is in something.
And you know, when you're talking about those labels that actually mean nothing, some people would buy something. I mean, if you have a gluten allergy, it's great that you're buying something that says gluten-free.
Yep.
But there was this trend, I remember, while I was in college, we all eating gluten-free things wasn't because of the allergy, but we equated it as being healthy, or we wouldn't have as many carbs, or carbs would be easily broken down.
Yep.
It's all bogus.
Most of it is. You have to do your homework. You've got to get online. You've got to talk to your nutritionist. You've got to talk to somebody who has the expertise in the particular food that you're talking about. You go to someone and say, or look it up, what exactly is non-GMO? What does gluten-free really mean? Does it matter to me if I don't have to worry about gluten, if I don't have any issues with, I think it's celiac disease or something? So it's important to do your homework on the food. A lot of people don't bother. We're all inherently lazy. We go shopping, we're hungry, we grab some food, and we decide in our little heads what the value of the food may be to us, and it's not necessarily true. Here's an example of where people will come into the supermarket and, like, we grew up with white bread. Yes. Let's face it, we all did. And we liked our white bread. They'd even have advertisements where you could tear it in half and that somehow had value. You're probably too young to remember that. I remember it. But to get a basic loaf of white bread is it's valueless, basically. It's just filling your stomach temporarily. And why? Because the white bread is a bleached flour, and there are a lot of additives put into it. It's not a healthy flour. To get a healthy flour, and again, it's back to packaging, is look to see what the label says. In this case is one that I always buy, well, often buy. Sometimes I buy whole wheat breads with a lot of seeds in them. But this makes better peanut butter and jelly, especially when I've got visiting grandsons at times. This actually doesn't say 100% whole wheat on the top, but I know if I read on the back, it does. when you're buying breads, rather than getting white bread, you switch to 100% whole wheat. Here's another packaging gimmick. Sometimes they'll say wheat bread. That may mean they sprinkle a few more little bits of unprocessed wheat in there or less processed. It may mean they put brown food coloring it to make it look brown. So that's why you want it to say whole wheat, and when you can get one stone ground, and I know from this package it is 100% whole wheat. If it says 100% whole wheat, then you're golden. When you make your PB&J with this or your morning toast, you're getting some nutritional value out of this with the fiber alone that you will never get from that.
So they, right there, it's fiber that is a lure, but
Yep.
When you look at the carbs, what is the carbs in that one?
Carbs is another story. There are carbohydrates, there is fiber, there's a lot of things. I'm not sure, what does it say?
This
I
one
didn't buy
says
that.
15 grams per slice.
Okay, this one says 7 grams per slice.
Oh, okay, that's a big
But
variation.
it's a big variation, but what's the fiber like in this? I wouldn't trust it in a heartbeat.
Oh, okay.
Because
the fiber, it says dietary fiber is 0.
right. Dietary fiber 0. This one has 7%, it has 2 grams.
Okay.
What you want to look at is the ingredients too. In this case, the ingredients on the back, right here, like with everything, says whole wheat flour. That's the #1 ingredient. That's the second big thing I want to mention when you're buying foods is look at the ingredients, and the largest amount of a certain ingredient in the product is the first thing listed. So this starts right off with whole wheat flour. So you know that you're getting something that's not processed, it's not bleached, probably fewer preservatives in it. There's a lot of work that goes into ruining flour to turn it into white bread. That does not go into a whole grain bread. So the reading the ingredients will tell you, and then, again, with the help of your nutritionist, learn how to read the labels on fiber and protein. Protein is great, and the reason protein is great, and I brought an example that I have from home that I use a lot. I hope it's okay. I'll just do this. It's a cereal I buy a lot because it's very high in protein. And what I like about that is protein fills you up. So when you get a lot of good protein, it's filling your belly up, and you don't get hungry again as fast. So there are advantages to that.
Very good. All right, and then you have some healthier things. You brought us tuna. Speaking of protein.
I brought in tuna. I'm not a fan of tuna.
Okay.
As I mentioned on my show that we filmed yesterday, I'm not a fan of celeries. A few things I'm not, and you can't really read this label. But buying solid tuna in water has fewer calories than tuna in fat. But I believe the oil that is in tuna isn't unhealthy for you. Just fat always has more calories than water, obviously.
Yes.
So, but this is something we keep in our house for the other people in my household who do like tuna. I don't care for it, but it's a very healthy
Well, when
food.
it comes to making tuna itself, that package there, it's really not harmful at all.
No.
Even when you eat that out of straight from the can, that's the best
Right.
way.
Yep.
But then we make a sandwich out of this. And apart from the bread, you talked about the bread,
Yep.
but we have mayonnaise.
Yep.
I have tried, we have Miracle Whip, those other,
Yeah.
and they don't taste as good.
That's right, and
So
they
then-
never will.
Yeah, and you take something healthy like that, a good example of turning it to something completely wrong at the end of the day.
Mayonnaise, I just use it sparingly, as they say, judiciously. Just use a little bit. Use just enough to make it wet. I personally like mayonnaise a little bit. I'm not going to get rid of it, but just don't use 5,000 tablespoons of it with a little bit of tuna. Who's kidding who? It's a matter of being honest about what you're eating. So you make your tuna, you add your chopped vegetables. That'll also fill up the food, the end tuna dish that you're making, and add a little bit of mayonnaise. I like actually the low-fat mayonnaise.
Okay.
My husband doesn't, but too bad. That's what I use.
Who goes
And it
shopping?
tastes perfectly good to me
Yes.
using low-fat mayonnaise. So there's a way around it. Just don't use a lot of it.
Well, they have come up with all types of variations of mayonnaise nowadays. You have the olive oil. No,
Yes.
just olive oil. Speaking of oils,
Yep.
we know vegetable oil because of the word vegetable. I think it's good oil. What about the olives and all that?
Okay, well, it depends. Olive oil is very good for you. It's an example of an unsaturated fat. If a fat is in liquid form all the time, that's much better for you than something that comes in solid form, like a butter or a lard, a shortening. That's just nasty stuff for your heart. And again, you talk to your physician or your nurse about your heart, but they'll always recommend liquid forms of fat. Olive oil is an excellent example. It's part of very healthy diets. What you don't want to do with olive oil in the sesame oils is use them in the wrong food preparation, because olive oil and, for example, sesame oil have a very strong taste. So they're great. Olive oil is great for making salad dressings. Sesame oil is great for sauteing up vegetables and fish and meat for an Asian-based dish. But you don't want to put olive oil, let's see, in something that traditionally calls for vegetable oil, which I think is usually corn oil.
Yes.
I can't think of anything off the top. Oh, brownies. Oh, I learned my lesson once. As a kid, I got into this real health thing when I was in college and decided to make brownies with organic, natural cocoa, and I used peanut oil instead of vegetable oil. Those things were nasty. They went right in the trash. So mostly baked goods.
Okay.
They're calling for vegetable oil for a reason, because it's going to work with the rest of the food. Olive oil would not. But if you're going to have an oil, keep it liquid, keep it what's called non-saturated as opposed to saturated. If it's in liquid form, you don't want to eat tons of it, because it's still fat. It still has a lot of calories. Another way of getting fat is in some vegetables. My favorite, or actually, is it a fruit? Avocado, which I think is technically a fruit because it has seeds, is an excellent source of natural fat. Again, there's calories in it, so you don't want to eat 18 avocados at a sitting. But it's a phenomenal way of getting fat in your diet without slathering butter all over your bread and things like that.
Oh, that's good. Actually, I will be having an avocado in my lunch today.
Well, our show that we filmed yesterday, we made meat chili, and I strongly recommend, I did at the end of the show, chop up some little chunks of avocado and put that in the top. It's yummy.
Very good. So what are some of the things that mean nothing when you're shopping that they just can pop up in your face, so you should notice quickly?
That's a good one.
Well, you have this. Would
Yeah.
they be located in that?
Uh,
Oh, actually, speaking of that, this is funny.
Okay, let's talk about your ketchup.
Is this a vegetable? Could this be labeled as a vegetable?
All right, well, let's look at the label here and see what's actually ketchup. Comes from tomatoes. I've never tried to make ketchup. Well, okay, the first ingredient is tomato concentrate from tomatoes, but it's not telling you how much real tomato is in this. What's in the concentrate? Can you get anything out of this? Well, you're going to look and see what you've got for your vitamins. Woohoo, a tablespoon is going to give you 2% of your vitamin A, 2% of your vitamin C. It won't kill you, but at the same time, 1 tablespoon is 20 calories, so if you've got a big burger and you put 3 or 4 tablespoons of ketchup on that or on your fries, it starts to add up. Sodium isn't bad. This is only 7% for the 1 tablespoon, but you're not going to make a meal out of this. My concern for this labeling is first ingredient is tomato concentrate from red ripe tomatoes. It's not telling you how much tomato is actually in this and what's in the concentrate. I believe they put a fair amount of sugar in these.
Oh, I see.
There's no fiber. It says 4 grams of sugar.
Can you make your own ketchup?
I don't know. I've never tried to. I bet you could. Go online, type it up, see what you get. Why not? Give it a try. I would imagine if you had a good food processor.
Yes.
Don't know. Never tried.
Interesting, because I love ketchup.
Yeah, it's not my favorite, but yeah, most people it is for the right American foods. Yeah, ketchup is very big in our diet. And I noticed you brought a thing of peanut butter. Fats. When I mentioned solid versus saturated versus non-saturated. This is saturated. Look at this. Tip it upside down, nothing comes out because all of your fat in here is solid. This also has quite a bit well, sometimes they take the sugar out, and notice that they're advertising 1 whole gram of protein. Big deal. I didn't bring a natural. If you buy a natural peanut butter sold in the exact same aisle right next to the Jif, and I think Jif actually now makes a natural peanut butter, that's where the word natural has some meaning, because it's a unsaturated oil, so when you open it up, you go, oh, you're kidding me, right? You have to take a knife and stir it.
Yeah, you have to really have some time in your schedule
peanut butter.
You gotta work it.
Well, no, you don't necessarily. You buy the bottle of it. You ready for this? Do that. Tip it upside down on the counter, and the oils will drain. And then when you go after a day or so and flip it back, it's a real quick stir. And then if you leave it in the fridge, it won't separate out as quickly. So that's all you have to do. You can also, yes, you can make your own peanut butter. Throw a bunch of peanuts in a blender. There you go. You've got peanut butter.
You got peanut
So,
butter.
and you've got it with unsaturated fat, which is much healthier, and a real peanut butter also has, I'm sure, a lot more protein than these packaged
Whole
ones with
Foods
saturated.
has the machines. You just grind whatever.
there you
make your
go.
own butter. It tastes. I know. I do it with the almonds.
Yep. Oh, yeah, almond butter.
Yeah,
Yep,
almond
yep.
butter or the honey nuts, and then you grind them, and you get this delicious
Yep, sure you do.
honey
Yep.
peanut butter.
Yep. Well, the
piece-
honey's you've got some refined sugar in that, so be a little bit
Okay.
careful. Honey, depending on where that honey is coming from, that's a tricky word too. Natural honey has a type of sugar that is better for you
Yeah.
than other types of highly refined sugars, but I have to see how they're using the word honey. But to buy a natural honey is better for you than using the word honey in something else that they may just sprinkle some sort of a heavily processed sort of product and call it honey.
So it seems like you really have to do your homework when you gotta know what is in there, because
Yep.
to take them at face value, they said it's healthy, whatever.
Yep.
It may not mean anything. to you.
Exactly, exactly. There's a lot of gimmicks out there to get people to buy things, and because it's in our faces all the time in the media that we should be more concerned, which is absolutely true. It doesn't mean that you can go to the supermarket, oh, there's that magic word healthy or better for you. It doesn't mean anything. Read your labels. And don't be, I think a big mistake some people might make is, oh, I got to take everything out, I got to take that, and I got to get rid of it, and
Yeah,
I got to
yeah.
take the peanut butter
Yeah.
and toss that and the whole thing. One thing at a time. Get rid of that nasty bread, spend a little bit more money, and buy a 100% whole wheat bread. That's the only change you make for now. Then you get used to this bread, you find you can't even go back. Give yourself a few days or a few weeks with peanut butter and jelly. Then you switch out of your peanut butters with
Yeah.
all the saturated fat, and you switch to the natural peanut butters. Again, a little bit more money, but they go a long way. The flavor is more intense, so you use less of it. And little by little, one product at a time, and you'll find yourself craving the good stuff, quote unquote, after a while. And you find that you can't go back to the white breads or to the heavily sugared or fatty products. Then you go to the restaurant. You love your French fries with your ketchup. Switch it up, spend maybe $1 more, and instead of getting regular fries, get sweet potato fries. They are very sweet. There's quite a bit of natural sugar in that. There's a lot of calories, but they're a little bit better for you because you're getting the nutrients in the sweet potato, which are a little bit better than what you're getting in a plain potato. You're getting more vitamins in a sweet potato. So there's little bitsy things that you can do in a restaurant or at home and switch things out little by little and get yourself used to eating better foods. Don't
Well,
do it all at once.
Thank you so much for being in the
You're
studio
welcome.
to tell us about this. I learned a lot, and I hope my viewers did too.
Good.
Our guest was Karen McHugh here in the studio talking about healthy eating and effective ways of reading labels, food labels. If you missed us this morning, this particular episode will re-air this evening at 6 p.m. We'll be back on Friday with more. Thank you, Wareham, and have a pleasant day.
Thank you.
Bye.